The world is watching something that has never happened before. Right now, in the middle of one of the most dangerous wars this generation has ever seen, something deeply unsettling is unfolding, and Pulse America News is going to break it down for you completely. Because here is the thing that nobody is saying out loud. When things start going wrong for a nation, for a leader, for an entire military alliance, they do not just go wrong once. They go wrong again and again and again. One blunder follows another, and right now, that is exactly what we are watching happen in real time across the Iran conflict. America is stumbling, Israel is stumbling even harder, and the entire world is beginning to reach the same conclusion, a conclusion so serious, so unprecedented, that major analysts are struggling to find the right words for it. I am Kundi, and tonight on Pulse America News, we are going inside the story that mainstream media is dancing around, but not fully telling you. Let us start with something that shook the internet in the last 24 hours. A video message was released that was supposed to reassure the world. It was supposed to show strength, stability, and leadership. Instead, it did the opposite. It raised questions so loud and so serious that one of the most respected and recognized senior anchors in the entire world came forward and said publicly, "I do not believe this video is real." This is a leading voice, someone at the absolute top level of global journalism, and he said it plainly and clearly. He said, "I do not buy into conspiracy theories. I do not entertain that kind of thinking, but I am telling you right now, without any hesitation, that the video showing this leader meeting and greeting people in public, that video is fake." That is what he said, not implied, not suggested, stated directly. Now think about what that means, because when a top-tier international journalist comes forward and says that openly, it is not a small thing. That is a massive thing. That is a moment that changes the entire frame of how you look at what is happening on the ground. And here is what makes it even more disturbing. When this leader released his message to the public, a message that was supposed to address a nation going through one of the most intense military conflicts in modern history, there was not a single word in it about the war, not one mention of the current situation, not one reference to what is happening right now on the battlefield. Think about that. You were supposedly a leader of a country that is being targeted by missiles. Drones are coming in, military positions are being hit, and your public message to your people contains zero mention of any of it. This is exactly what I, Kundi at Pulse America News, have been flagging for weeks. When a leader releases a message that has absolutely nothing to do with the current reality, that tells you something. It tells you that message was recorded long before the war started. It tells you it was kept in a drawer somewhere, ready to be used at any convenient moment. And it tells you that whoever is managing communications right now is desperately trying to paper over a situation they cannot explain. There's a Bollywood courtroom scene, many of you will remember it, where a man walks into a court and says, "I am alive. The government has declared me dead. Prove it." The judge looks at him and says, "What proof do you have that you are alive?" The man says, "I am standing right here in front of you." And the judge says, "No, you are the evidence, not the proof." That joke, that scene, that is the exact situation being discussed right now by analysts around the world. Because the proof that is being presented is not convincing anyone. And when your own communication team cannot produce a credible, current, time-stamped, verified message that addresses the war directly, you have a very serious problem. Now here is where the American side of this story becomes just as explosive, because it is not just Israel that is under pressure. Donald Trump stood up and said something remarkable. He said, "I am shocked. I am genuinely shocked by what Iran has done." He said, "I did not expect Iran to strike Gulf countries this way." He said, "The people we are dealing with are not ordinary. These are high-level minds, high IQ individuals, dangerous people." He actually said that. The President of the United States, who has been projecting maximum confidence since this conflict began, stood up and admitted that Iran surprised him, that Iran exceeded his expectations, that Iran is operating at a level he did not fully anticipate. That is not a small admission. That is enormous. Because this is the same leader who came out in the early days of this conflict and said America had destroyed Iran's navy, that the Strait of Hormuz would be opened, that oil prices would come down, that everything was under control. He gave the public an entire list of victories. He said, we hit this target and that target. We have done this and that. He spoke with complete confidence. And now he is standing up and saying, these people are not what I expected. They are operating at a higher level than I understood. Do you understand what a shift that is? Do you understand what it means when the leader of the most powerful military force on the planet stands up and revises his assessment of the enemy upward in the middle of an active war? Now let us talk about what is actually happening on the battlefield. Because the reports coming out of Washington Post, New York Times, Axios, and Wall Street Journal are painting a picture that is completely different from the official narrative, and this is the part that the public deserves to hear clearly. American military personnel are reportedly being killed and wounded across 7 different countries. 7. Not one zone, not one front, 7 countries where American interests, American personnel, and American infrastructure are under pressure simultaneously. That is not a manageable situation. That is a crisis of coordination on a scale that is genuinely alarming. And then there is the specific targeting of air defense systems. There are credible reports suggesting that the missile strikes Iran carried out on air defense installations, including those near Ben Gurion Airport, did not just destroy the hardware. The people operating those systems, the trained specialists running those defense platforms, were either killed, wounded, or are suffering from severe blast-related injuries, including brain trauma. And this is the part people do not talk about enough. It is not just about destroying a missile battery. If you destroy the people who know how to run those systems, if you take out the trained operators through shockwave injuries and blast pressure damage, you have effectively neutralized that defense capability without necessarily blowing the equipment into pieces. Iran's missiles are generating that level of force. That is the reality that is now being discussed inside intelligence briefings, according to multiple American media outlets. And what makes this even more significant is that the people running America's intelligence assessments are now privately telling decision makers something that contradicts everything being said publicly. They are saying we have hit approximately 15,000 targets. We have gone after top leadership. We have tried to destroy their naval capability, but we are not winning this war. We are taking more damage than we are inflicting. We made a serious miscalculation, and the enemy that we thought we had weakened has come out of this stronger than when it started. That is extraordinary. That is the kind of internal assessment that in previous eras would have stayed buried for decades. But because of the sheer scale of what is happening, and because so many journalists at so many outlets are now covering this from so many angles, those assessments are leaking. And the picture they paint is one of a military campaign that did not go according to plan. Now here's what makes the strategic situation even more complex. For months now, the idea has been floated that if America needed support, its allies would step in. NATO would show up, Japan would cooperate, Britain would contribute. Trump apparently reached out to multiple allied nations asking them to join this effort, and here's what happened. One by one, they said no. Japan said no. Britain said no. Country after country declined. And then, according to reports, Trump came back out half an hour later and said, "Fine, I do not need them. I can handle this alone." Now, maybe that's confidence, maybe that's posturing, but when you're running out of interceptor missiles, when your anti-air systems are being depleted faster than they can be resupplied, when the Strait of Hormuz remains closed and your allies are refusing to join your coalition, calling yourself sufficient on your own is not a strategy. It is a position of isolation dressed up in bold language. And here's the point that connects everything. There was a voice, a major resistance leader, now gone, who said something years ago that at the time sounded dramatic. He said, the day war breaks out with Iran, it will not stay inside Iran's borders. It will engulf the entire region. Every American interest in the Middle East and beyond will be under threat. He said it with total certainty. He said it as a matter of strategic fact. Look at what is happening right now.
Drones are hitting Baghdad, missiles are striking military infrastructure, air defense systems are being dismantled, American troops are dying in 7 countries, Gulf nations that were supposed to be stable are being targeted, the Strait of Hormuz is a point of crisis, and the allies who were supposed to stand shoulder to shoulder have walked away. That man's words are unfolding in real time, not as a prophecy, as a strategic calculation that has proven accurate. On Pulse America News, I'm Kundi, and I want to leave you with this thought. The danger of this moment is not just military, it is the collapse of a narrative. The narrative that said this was going to be fast, controlled, decisive, and clean. That narrative is gone. What is replacing it is messier, more dangerous, and far less predictable than anyone in Washington or Tel Aviv publicly admitted. The interceptors are running out. The allies are not coming. The ground forces that some expected to be deployed are facing a military that is stronger and more prepared than the assessments predicted. And the communications coming from the leadership of one side of this conflict are raising questions that no official statement has answered. The world is watching. Stay with Pulse America News for every development as this story continues to unfold. Like this video if it opened your eyes, share it with someone who needs to understand what is really happening, and leave your thoughts in the comments below. I'm Kundi. This is Pulse America News. Stay informed, stay sharp.